When you think of the biggest slop in anime, what is the first thing that comes to mind? Is it the ecchi anime with excessive fan service? Or is it the romance anime with random incest? Unfortunately, it is likely neither of these. More often than not, when you ask someone this question, one genre gets brought up above all others. Isekai. A genre that once captured the attention of the entire anime industry, which has now devolved into stories where the main character is reincarnated as a vending machine, or even as one of the hero's ribs. And yes, these are real shows. So how did one of anime's most beloved genres end up like this, you might ask? To answer this question, we have to start at where it all began, with the rise of the Isekai genre. While the majority of viewers associate Isekai as a more modern genre of anime, it has actually existed as long as almost every other major genre. With it simply meaning another world, famous anime like Spirited Away and Inuyasha are, at heart, Isekai anime. Even an anime like Bleach could spark a discussion as to whether it's an Isekai, as Ichigo does in fact go to another world. With that in mind, whether or not you truly believe an anime to be an Isekai, it can still have major significance on the genre itself. No anime better represents this than the anime Sword Art Online. Whether or not you count Trapped in a Game anime as Isekai, with the release of SAO in 2012, the landscape for Isekai changed forever. Some newer anime watchers might be wondering how the anime that gets so much criticism in the current day, with many calling it the worst anime of all time, could be so influential. The simplest explanation for this is that with all of its flaws, like having an overpowered main character with black hair, like every other Isekai in existence, as well as some incest and other interesting scenes, it introduced an entire generation of anime fans to the genre. As a 12-year-old, seeing a protagonist dual-wielding swords in an all-black fit, powering his way through a game world with girls fawning over him, was the blueprint for a must-watch show. Its popularity skyrocketed, and in turn, so did the genre. It then entered what I would call the golden age in the 2010s. Looking back now, it's hard to believe just how many defining isekai released within such a short period. Re:Zero, Konosuba, Overlord, and That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime all came out within just a few weeks of one another. Throw in series like Saga of Tanya the Evil and Cautious Hero, and it becomes obvious why the genre exploded. While all for different reasons, these anime saw immense popularity, cementing the isekai genre as a permanent staple in the industry. So how did the general opinion on the genre change in such a short time? Unfortunately, there are many reasons for this. One of the main reasons that the genre devolved into a shell of its former glory was due to the sheer amount of copycats. An overpowered protagonist with black hair wasn't actually an isekai trope when Sword Art Online released in 2012. Unless, of course, you want to count Mexico's beloved Son Goku. Nowadays, this archetype is seen in so many protagonists that it is hard to count. And no, before you ask, I can't remember any of their names. Unfortunately, the protagonist was not the only aspect these anime copied. Tropes were copied, and then another anime stole them from the anime that stole them in the first place, with this cycle continuing. At the end of this cycle, we are then met with an unfortunate reality, where every isekai follows the exact same format. Guy gets hit by truck, reincarnates with OP abilities, then they either hide them or the adventure skill cannot measure them, then they become the lowest rank, everyone underestimates them, but then they keep surprising everyone throughout the series with their true strength. The plot goes nowhere, they have about 3 girls in love with them in the party, including a mage, cat girl and elf. They keep getting in very unfortunate loot scenarios with them, they save a princess and she falls in love with them. The system window pops up in a life or death scenario and they unlock an ability 100 times stronger than any single ability the hero's ever used. And then finally they return at the end of the day to the city surrounded by massive walls and a river running through it. Eventually, every new series stopped feeling like a new adventure and instead felt like a checklist. While some of you may be thinking that the solution is to then ignore these tropes, that is not what actually makes these anime bad. In fact, the anime I listed as the blueprint of the genre above even includes some of these aspects. Rather, the difference was never the tropes themselves, but the unique ideas and strong writing surrounding them. Unfortunately, currently the genre seems to have become so oversaturated that the authors recycle the same ideas over and over again with no shred of creativity. At the end of a new series, you might even begin to wonder, have I read this before? So has the genre recovered from this awful period of repetition? Well, sort of. To make things clear, the genre is still riddled with the same problems. Every anime season brings at least 3 new isekai that follow the same format as all the ones before it. This problem, however, kinda works in the genre's favour now. With expectations as low as they go, every season you will hear the same conversations. Hey bro, check out this new isekai that came out this season. Man, we do this every year, stop getting your hopes up, these are not worth watching. Nah bro, I promise this one's actually good. As always, the story didn't really go anywhere with this one. Yeah man, you're right. Hey, but I heard this isekai's even better. This might be because we think it has a unique premise, or because it tricked us all with the opening into thinking it was going to be well animated. Yes, I'm looking at you, Water Magician. While this means people continue to watch the genre, chasing the revival of what they once loved, are there any signs of its return? Well, not in the traditional sense. Perhaps the biggest sign of recovery isn't that bad isekai disappeared. They clearly haven't. It's that the genre has become sort of self-aware. With anime like The Eminence and Shadow and Uncle from Another World not being afraid to make fun of the tropes that define the genre, they become genuinely enjoyable to watch. Instead of criticizing these series for their tropes, we start laughing at them, wondering which cliché they'll probably parody next. Of course, even this concept isn't exactly a new idea, with Konosuba perfecting it many years prior. Despite this, borrowing an idea doesn't automatically make a series bad. What actually matters is whether it brings something new to the table. While satirical isekai anime have appeared, does this mean no real good isekai have released in recent years? No. In fact, the critically acclaimed novel Lord of the Mysteries got its own anime adaptation, which received extremely favourable reviews. On top of this, with anime like Zenshuu, rather than relying on recycled fantasy settings, these anime prove the genre is still capable of producing fresh ideas. The flood of generic isekai hasn't stopped, but for the first time in years, it feels like the genre is learning from its own mistakes, as well as not being afraid to make fun of them. In conclusion, will isekai anime ever return to the way they once were? Probably not in the same way. It is, however, learning from its mistakes and attempting to evolve into something different. Unfortunately, you'll probably never experience the same sense of wonder you had watching it when you were 12. Instead of thinking, wow, Nagumo is so cool and edgy, like you once did when watching Arifureta, you'll now think, wow, Nagumo is high-key a weirdo, if isekai anime continue to stay the same. The tropes themselves aren't what make modern isekai bad, it's the lack of creativity behind them. If authors stop being afraid to try new ideas, keep laughing at the genre itself, and start using tropes as tools rather than the final product, then perhaps the genre will no longer be the slop of the industry. Instead, hopefully new anime fans can experience a series that starts their own craze, like Sword Art Online, ReZero, or Konosuba did for us in the 2010s. If not, well, I guess it won't hurt to watch another guy get hit by a truck.